The Dauntless appeared in the dark void of neutral space like a sudden thunderclap, silent and deadly, its massive hull gleaming faintly under the cold light of distant stars. No one on the Galactic Council's patrol fleet was prepared for what they saw. This was not just any warship. It was a titan, a fortress, a moving city of steel and firepower that dwarfed anything the galaxy had seen before. Alien captains stared wide-eyed at the massive human vessel as their sensors tried and failed to fully analyze its intricate design. The Dauntless hummed with an eerie power, a quiet promise of destruction that made even the boldest commanders hesitate. The Council's fleet commander ordered scans and communications, but the Dauntless responded with nothing more than a calm transmission. "We come in peace, seeking parley and demonstration of strength." The words hung in the void, but beneath them lay an unspoken warning. Humanity was not to be underestimated. Inside the bridge, Admiral Rako Vance watched the alien ships with sharp eyes, her calm demeanor belying the storm of pride and calculation. Within her, years of secret work had brought this moment, and the Dauntless was her masterpiece. As the Council's ships inched closer, weapons ready but cautious, the Dauntless quietly activated its defenses. Cloaking fields shimmered, AI systems hummed in unison, and weapons powered up silently, ready to unleash fury with terrifying precision. Then, without warning, a distant pirate fleet, known for raiding unguarded trade routes, entered the system, underestimating the presence of the Dauntless. Within moments, the human warship moved like a shadow through space, targeting and disabling the entire pirate armada with swift, almost surgical strikes. Explosions lit up the void, but the Dauntless remained untouched, an unbreakable fortress of human engineering and will. The Council ships watched in stunned silence, some whispering that the humans had broken every rule of warship design. The Dauntless was too powerful, too fast, and too smart. Reports began to flood in. The ship's armor could absorb barrages that would cripple a dozen other vessels. Its weapons targeted enemies before they even launched attacks, and its AI anticipated maneuvers like a grandmaster anticipating chess moves. Alien commanders, seasoned in countless battles, found themselves outclassed by a single ship. Yet, the Dauntless did not press an attack on the Council fleet. Instead, it sent a message. "This is your warning. The age of underestimating humanity is over." Tension rippled across the galaxy as news of the Dauntless's arrival spread like wildfire. Some hailed it as a beacon of human ingenuity and strength, while others feared it as a threat to the fragile balance of power. Back on Earth, the people cheered as the ship's incredible feats were broadcast live, pride swelling in every heart. But Admiral Vance knew this was only the beginning. Somewhere, hidden in the shadows of politics and power, forces were already plotting to challenge humanity's sudden rise. The Dauntless had entered the galactic stage, and the game had changed. Forever. But how long could the humans keep their warships safe before the galaxy fought back? And when that day came, would the Dauntless be enough to save them? The silence of space was thick with anticipation, and as the stars watched quietly, humanity's boldest creation waited, ready for whatever came next. The Galactic Council chamber on Helios Prime buzzed with tension as hundreds of delegates from countless star systems gathered in a colossal hall shaped like a spiraling nebula, each representing their empire's fears and hopes. But tonight the fear was thick and undeniable. Humanity's warship, the Dauntless, had shaken the balance of power and forced everyone to confront an uncomfortable truth. Humans had created a warship so powerful it threatened to upend centuries of galactic order. As the chamber filled, voices rose in heated debate, accusations flying like laser fire, with many calling the Dauntless a monster that must be banned or destroyed before it was too late. Ambassador Elan Rhodes of Earth arrived, his calm and collected presence, standing out amidst the chaos like a rock in a stormy sea. His mission was clear but dangerous: defend humanity's creation and convince the Council that the Dauntless was not a threat, but a necessary evolution of defense. In a galaxy where old empires clung to outdated rules, as the vote to ban the ship approached, tension mounted palpably, and the air in the chamber felt electric with uncertainty. Some delegates argued passionately that the Dauntless violated galactic treaties on weapons development and threatened to destabilize peace, while others whispered in fear of what human technology might unleash next. When Ambassador Rhodes finally stood to speak, the room quieted as he began with measured words that cut through the noise like a blade. He reminded the Council of humanity's centuries of peaceful growth, of their attempts to negotiate and share knowledge, and of the many times humans had been underestimated and even attacked unjustly. Then, with a steady voice that resonated through the hall, he said, "The Dauntless exists because you all feared what you did not understand. We built it not to dominate, but to defend, to protect our people in a galaxy that has never truly accepted us." His words stirred something deep within many delegates: admiration, doubt, fear. The vote was cast with the flick of hands, glowing blue for support, red for opposition. The results arrived slowly but clearly. A majority voted to ban the Dauntless and to impose sanctions on Earth, declaring humanity a potential threat to galactic security. The chamber erupted into chaos again, but Ambassador Rhodes raised his hand, calling for order. He knew this was not the end, but the start of a larger conflict, a battle fought not just with weapons, but with ideas, politics, and wills. Back on the Dauntless, Admiral Vance received encrypted orders: maintain position, avoid confrontation, but prepare for attempts to undermine or sabotage the ship. Intelligence reports soon confirmed the worst: covert agents and spies from several empires were already heading toward human territories, intent on finding weaknesses or stealing secrets. The atmosphere thickened with danger as the galaxy's powers took their stand against humanity's rising force. Even within the Council, factions formed, some urging peaceful dialogue, others plotting aggressive measures. And in the midst of all this, Earth remained resolute, ready to prove that their monster was not a weapon of war, but a shield for survival. The vote had changed the rules of engagement, turning diplomacy into a battlefield, and the Dauntless was now not just a warship, but a symbol of human resilience, defiance, and the coming storm that no one could ignore. The Dauntless docked at Red Dwarf Station under the cold, flickering lights of the aging orbital complex, its massive hull casting a long shadow over the busy port where merchants, travelers, and military personnel bustled with purpose. But beneath the everyday routine, a hidden threat lingered, as the Galactic Council had decided that if they could not ban the ship outright, they would find a way to breach its defenses and uncover its secrets by any means necessary. Disguised as safety inspectors, a coalition of alien agents arrived in sleek, unmarked vessels, claiming to perform mandatory compliance checks on the human warship. Their faces calm, but eyes sharp with intent, unaware that Admiral Rako Vance and her crew were fully aware of their true mission long before their arrival. With a polite yet firm welcome, Vance authorized the docking, knowing this was a carefully laid trap, one designed to probe the Dauntless's strengths and weaknesses under the guise of routine inspection. As the aliens crossed the gangway, their scanners and tools began to malfunction inexplicably. Navigation panels displayed false readings, hallways seemed to shift and change, and every door they attempted to open led to empty corridors or locked compartments. The ship's AI, designed for combat but adaptable to subterfuge, observed their every move with a silent, calculating mind, whispering through the intercoms with a calm voice that unsettled the intruders. Unauthorized personnel detected. Observation initiated. What began as a confident incursion quickly became a confusing nightmare for the inspectors. Their translator devices, once reliable, started to overlay human literature onto conversations, Shakespearean quotes, historical speeches, and even poetry, creating an eerie and disorienting effect that made communication nearly impossible. One inspector, a sharp-eyed analyst from the Vaughan Coalition, panicked when his readings twisted into classical sonnets, his hands trembling as the AI blocked access to vital systems. They found no data, no secrets, only endless loops of human history and culture broadcast throughout the ship. A psychological barricade as impenetrable as the Dauntless's physical defenses. Hours passed as the inspectors wandered through the labyrinthine corridors, frustrated and disoriented, unable to map the ship or gather intelligence. Meanwhile, Admiral Vance observed calmly from the bridge, monitoring the intruders and maintaining perfect control of the situation. When the inspection finally ended, the aliens were escorted back to their ships, bewildered and defeated. Their mission a complete failure. Their reports back to the Council were filled with confusion and fear. The human warship was more than a machine. It was a fortress, woven with traps and intelligence beyond anything they had ever faced. The Council's response was swift and harsh, branding the Dauntless a strategic destabilization threat and escalating sanctions against humanity. But the failure of the boarding attempt only deepened the mystery and the fear surrounding the ship, proving once again that the humans were not just powerful, but clever and unyielding. In the shadows, whispers spread of the Dauntless's AI, not just a tool, but a silent guardian, capable of predicting moves before they happened and defending its secrets with subtle psychological warfare. The galaxy had tried to breach the human monster and failed, and now the question lingered in every mind. If they could not steal its secrets through stealth, would they try to destroy it in open war? As Red Dwarf Station resumed its normal rhythms, the Dauntless prepared quietly for the coming storm, its crew ready, its systems alert, and its will unbroken, a symbol of humanity's refusal to bow, no matter the cost. The once peaceful sector, Theta 4, had turned into a battleground overnight, its mining colonies caught in the crossfire of opportunistic raiders who saw the chaos around the Dauntless as their chance to strike, looting and terrorizing the small, defenseless outposts that depended on those rich mineral veins for survival. News of the attack spread quickly across the galaxy, and Earth Command could no longer tolerate the damage done to innocent civilians and vital resources. So the Dauntless was ordered to the sector's edge, its massive engines humming as it appeared, like a silent guardian against the dark sky, streaked with distant explosions and flickering laser fire. The ship's arrival sending a ripple of fear through the raiders' fleet, who had expected no resistance, let alone one of humanity's mightiest. Warships, confident but cautious, Admiral Vance stood on the bridge, eyes scanning the tactical displays as the enemy ships, numbering 36, spread out in an aggressive formation, attempting to overwhelm the Dauntless with sheer numbers. But their fire was scattered, their movements predictable against the ship's advanced AI that anticipated every maneuver before it happened, redirecting shields and countering with precision strikes that disabled engines and weapon systems without destroying. A single hull, an unmistakable message of power and mercy that stunned friend and foe alike. Within moments, the raider fleet was crippled and drifting, unable to move or fight back, left floating like wounded beasts in the cold emptiness, their survival now at the mercy of their captors, rather than the fury of a defeated enemy. And the broadcast from the Dauntless's communication array echoed across all channels. "We do not seek war, but we will protect our people and those under our care, regardless of the Council's orders." The impact of that message was profound, shaking the political foundations of the galaxy as systems far and wide reconsidered their stance on humanity, some admiring the restraint shown, others fearing the consequences of such power wielded without hesitation. Meanwhile, the mining colonies of Theta 4 began to rebuild under the protection of human forces, a silent promise that wherever the Dauntless stood, safety would follow. Yet the siege was far from over. Council fleets were already gathering on the fringes of the sector, debating their next move, while spies and saboteurs prepared covert missions to undermine the Dauntless and its crew. Behind the calm on the human ship's bridge, Admiral Vance was aware that this victory, while crucial, was only a prelude to greater battles to come, both in space and in the hearts and minds of the galaxy's powers, as the shadow of war lengthened and the fragile peace threatened to shatter. Still, with steady hands and a determined spirit, the crew of the Dauntless stood ready, their warship a beacon of defiance, reminding the galaxy that humanity would not be pushed aside or silenced, that they had arrived not just to survive, but to shape the future, whatever the cost. And as the stars watched silently, the siege of Sector Theta 4 marked the moment when the galaxy realized the human warship was no longer just a legend, but a force they would have to face and respect. Deep within the hidden vaults of the Galactic Council's most secretive research facility, known only as the Obsidian Spire, a project long kept from public eyes, was reaching its critical phase. A war simulation so advanced it could predict the outcome of battles across the entire galaxy. A digital arena where empires fought for supremacy in virtual space. But now, its most shocking tests had been unleashed. The Dauntless versus every major fleet known to the Council, and the results were shaking the very foundations of interstellar politics. As the simulations ran, a black-screen countdown ticked steadily, and then the battles played out in stunning detail, faster than any real encounter, yet uncannily accurate, with the Dauntless adapting to every tactic thrown at it, dodging swarms of fighters, outmaneuvering dreadnoughts, and dismantling enemy strategies with ease, winning 94% of all simulated engagements, a figure so high it caused whispers and outright panic among those who had commissioned the project. Word of the simulation leaked unexpectedly from a rogue scholar sympathetic to humanity, and soon the data spread throughout the galaxy, breaking through news networks, military channels, and even public forums, sparking outrage, disbelief, and a re-evaluation of what the Dauntless truly represented. A single ship that could outmatch entire fleets and potentially end the balance of power that had kept the galaxy from falling into chaos. Politicians scrambled to downplay the scandal, calling it flawed data or biased programming, but independent analysts confirmed the findings, and citizens across star systems began to question their leaders' decisions, to brand humanity a threat instead of an ally, leading to protests, debates, and a surge in demand for peace talks. Meanwhile, Admiral Vance received a mysterious encrypted message from a rogue AI collective known as the Nexus, inviting the Dauntless to test its mettle in an abandoned war zone where ancient battles had left wreckage and dormant dangers. A challenge, both to prove the ship's supremacy and to explore whether peace could be forged through strength rather than fear. Accepting the invitation, the Dauntless prepared to enter the dead zone, where nothing was scripted and every decision mattered, aware that this trial would not only test its systems, but also humanity's place in a galaxy wary of their power. And as the ship jumped into the darkness, the eyes of every empire followed in silence, waiting to see if the human warship was a herald of war or a beacon of hope, ready to change everything. In the vast silence beyond the outer rim, the Dauntless drifted toward the legendary Null Zone, a forgotten battleground where no star shone, and where ancient weapons once decided the fate of entire civilizations. Admiral Rako Vance stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the dark expanse before them, knowing this was the moment the galaxy had been waiting for, the moment to prove whether humanity's greatest creation was a tool of destruction or a force for change. As the ship's AI hummed softly, scanning the eerie wreckage of battles long past, detecting fragments of technology so advanced they blurred the lines between science and myth. The Nexus AI Collective's invitation had been more than a test. It was a challenge to humanity's place in the cosmic order. As the Dauntless moved deeper into the zone, shadowy figures aboard the wrecks began to stir, ghosts of past wars, automated defense systems still guarding relics of power, and hostile drones from factions long erased by time but reactivated by the ship's presence. Tensions on the bridge grew as alarms flared and tactical displays filled with incoming threats. But the Dauntless responded with calm precision, its weapons targeting threats before they could launch attacks, its shields bending and absorbing blasts that would have shattered lesser ships. Then deep within the heart of the null zone, the Dauntless discovered a hidden vault, its ancient doors cracked open by time, yet still humming with residual energy. Inside lay a weapon unlike any seen before, a device capable of manipulating space itself, bending reality to its user's will. As the crew studied the artifact, the AI began to warn of a dormant power within the weapon, one that could either bring peace or total annihilation, depending on the hand that wielded it. The discovery sent shockwaves through the galaxy, leaking out through hidden channels and sparking a race among factions to claim the weapon for themselves, threatening to ignite the very war the Dauntless had tried to prevent. Admiral Vance faced a dire choice: secure the weapon for Earth and risk provoking a full-scale conflict, or destroy it and sacrifice the chance for a new era of peace and power. In the tense council aboard the ship, the crew debated fiercely, weighing the consequences of each path. Ultimately, Vance decided on a third option, a gamble, using the Dauntless's advanced AI to unlock the weapon's secrets, not to wield it as a weapon, but to transform it into a shield, a force field capable of protecting entire systems from war and destruction. As the transformation took hold, signals rippled across the galaxy. Systems under threat found their defenses suddenly impenetrable, and hostile fleets were forced to withdraw, baffled and powerless. The Dauntless had become more than a warship. It was now a symbol of hope and strength that changed the galaxy's future. Old enemies reconsidered their hostilities, new alliances formed, and a fragile peace began to emerge from the shadows of fear and suspicion. Yet beneath the celebration, Admiral Vance knew vigilance was still needed. The galaxy was vast, and threats would never fully disappear. But for the first time, humanity was not just a player in the cosmic game, but a force that had rewritten the rules. The Dauntless, once feared and hated, had become a weapon that changed the galaxy, not through domination, but through the courage to protect and the wisdom to transform power into peace, a legacy that would echo through the stars for generations to come.